All right, let's get right into it. If you're a developer, you know that feeling, right? That pit in your stomach when you have to push an update to a live app. It's stressful. It's risky. One tiny little mistake can cause some really big problems. But what if we could just change that whole thing? Now really, think about that for a second. What if you could change how your app behaves or switch on a brand new feature or even just fix a setting on the fly, all without deploying a single new line of code? Well, today, we're going to break down how that's not just some fantasy, it's actually becoming the new way of doing things. So first, let's talk about the problem we're trying to solve. For so many teams, it's this state of what I like to call configuration chaos. You know what I'm talking about, that frantic search, digging through code, trying to find that one setting you need to change. And look, this is probably a familiar sight for a lot of you. For years, the old way was to just scatter our settings all over the place. Different files, different components, different environments. You've got a database setting over here, an API key way over there. And this is what leads to those absolute nightmare deployment errors that are nearly impossible to track down. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that changing something simple, like a welcome message, means you have to do a full, high-stakes redeployment of the entire application. It's just so slow, it's inefficient, and honestly, it's just plain dangerous. So how do we fix this mess? How do we tame the chaos? Well, we stop scattering everything to the wind. Instead, we bring all of our settings together into one central command center. And the solution, based on our source material today, is a service called Azure App Configuration. The name really says it all, right? It's one single central place to manage all your app settings and, this is really important, something called feature flags. You can just think of it as mission control for your app's entire behavior. And this comparison just lays it all out perfectly. We're talking about a massive shift. We're going from settings being buried deep inside code files to having them live in a central store. Instead of a change needing a whole new redeployment, it just happens dynamically, in real time. We're basically swapping out a slow, confusing, and error-prone process for one that is safe, instant, and totally clear. It's the difference between total chaos and absolute control. Okay, that all sounds fantastic in theory, but what does it actually look like in practice? Let's do a high-level walkthrough of the core ideas from the lab and our source material and see this thing in action. So the setup, conceptually, is pretty straightforward. First, you've got your web app. It's already running. Second, you create that central command center we talked about, the app configuration store. Third, you make a secure connection, like a secret handshake, between your app and the store so they can talk to each other. And finally, you just tell your app, hey, from now on, you get your instructions from over there. Simple as that.
So at this point, our app is up and running, but our new configuration store, it's a blank slate. There's nothing in it, no instructions. So the app is just running on its old default hard-coded settings. I think it's time we change that. Let's flip some switches.
And this right here is where the magic really happens. We're about to make changes to our live application without touching a single line of code, and more importantly, without redeploying anything at all. Okay, for our first test, let's start with something simple but really powerful. Our sample e-commerce app has a default message it shows when your search comes up empty. Let's change that message right now on the fly. So we jump into our Azure App Configuration store and we create what's called a key value pair. The key is just like a unique name for that setting. In our case, it points right to that no results message. And the value? Well, that's the new message we wanted to show. We just type in our custom text, hit save, and that's it. And just like that, it's live. According to the lab, all you do is go back to the website, hit refresh, and the application instantly fetches that new setting from the central store and displays our new message. No downtime, no risk, just an immediate update. How cool is that? All right, changing a bit of text is cool, for sure, but that's really just scratching the surface. What if we wanted to turn on an entirely new feature? Something that's already in the code, but it's just hidden from users. This is where feature flags come into play. So let's pretend we've got a big weekend sale coming up. The code for this awesome promotional banner is already deployed out to production, but it's switched off by default. We want to light it up for everybody, right now. So back we go to our app configuration store. This time, we go to the feature manager, we create a new flag, we'll call it sales weekend, and then we check the box to set its state to enabled. That's it. We've literally just flipped the switch. So what happens? We go back to the website, hit refresh, and boom! Just like the source material says, a massive sale banner appears right at the top of the page.
A huge piece of new functionality just went live to all of our users, and all it took was a single click in a dashboard. And, if there's a problem, we just uncheck the box. It's gone. It's that easy.
So we've seen how it works, but let's take a step back and talk about why. Why is this approach such a game changer? Well, it all really boils down to three key things: speed, safety, and control. This is really the most important takeaway. You completely separate deploying your code from releasing a feature. It means your developers can ship code to production whenever it's done, but you keep those features hidden until the business is actually ready to launch them. And if a new feature has a bug, you don't need a panicked late-night redeployment. You just flip the switch and turn it off. The risk just plummets. It gives you a single source of truth for how your app is supposed to behave, and it opens up all sorts of possibilities like A/B testing or slowly rolling out features to small groups of users. It puts you back in the driver's seat. And that really brings us to the final thought here. This isn't just a new way to manage settings. It's a fundamental shift in how we think about building and releasing software. It encourages us to experiment more and to be less afraid of failure. So the question I want to leave you with is this. If you had this power, if you could turn features on and off like a light switch, what amazing new things would you be brave enough to build next?
In this section of the lab, we are going to do that enable dynamic configuration and features flag. So I'll pass this Microsoft Learn link so that you can follow the lab when you do that. So let me start the lab now. So here I have already connected to Azure DevOps portal. Now select the project. The very first thing for lab perspective, we have to create a service connection to access Azure resource or resources. So therefore here I'm going to set up service connection. So after going to the project, you see that on your left side there is option project settings. When you select that one, you will see that the section pipelines underneath that there is a service connection. Select the service connection, and then this page will come. So here, click create service connection and create the connection like type. So in our case, that is Azure Resource Manager. Select next. Then select all the identity type, credentials, scope level, subscription level. Then select the resource group. Then give a service connection name and make sure it's disable, but make sure that grant access permission to all pipeline. Make sure that is off or deselect, and then click save. So now we have completed our prereq. Now, very first thing, we are going to import the eShop on web Git repository. So for that, on your here is that repos and select files. Then down below that import a repository import. So select that import. Then pass the URL for the Git repository that we are going to clone, and then select import. And you can see that there are different folders and files are organized. .audio folder contains Azure DevOps YAML pipeline. And here is the source folder contains the .NET 8 website used in this lab scenarios. Now, to make the main branch as a default branch, so go to the branches. And down below is the main branch and select that ellipse button and then set as default branch. Now what we will do, next section, we'll import and run CI/CD pipelines to build and deploy the eShop on web applications. So the CI pipeline is prepared to build the applications and run test, and CD pipeline will deploy the application to an Azure web app. So for that, let's go back to here, the pipelines. You can see that the pipelines, and ultimately that there are different pipelines there, and then you can see that create your first pipeline. So select create pipeline. And what is your code? Here, Azure repos git, and then select the repo. So in our case, that is eShop on web repository. Select existing Azure pipeline YAML file, and first thing is main branch, and then select the file which is .ado and eShop on web dot like dash ci dot YAML file. When that's selected, select continue. And straight this pipeline is ready. So you already know actually how the setups are done. Like it's a build process, and underneath those pipelines has got different tasks. So now we can just execute run button to run the pipeline. So pipeline build is in progress. You can see the build here. Like if you select that one, you can see the build process here. So let's come back when build has been completed, or build will be completed. Build has been completed. Now for every task underneath that one, you can go and you can check the log output. In case if that failed, you can find out what the issue is. Now go back to the pipeline. And normally by default that pipeline name based on the project name. So let's rename this one. And then click save. So now we will import and run the CD pipeline. So for that, let's go to the pipeline section, pipeline and then pipeline. And here we click that one. Then we are going to get a new pipeline. So select this new pipeline. Here the code is Azure repos git. Then select a repository that is in eShop on web repository. Then here configure your pipeline and select that existing Azure pipeline YAML file. Then branch, select the main branch. And then select the file that .ado eShop on web cd web app dash code dot YML file. And then select continue. Now in the pipeline definition, let's update the variable based on our setup. So you can get all these values by going through Azure portal. Now in the same pipeline 5, if you go down, that Azure Resource Manager template deployment add 3. Here, if you look for CSM file, which points to web app.bicep. Which actually points to if we um, let me open another page. Go to pipeline. Actually, I'm not trying to do that one. I have to show you that the file, the folder structure. If you go to the folder structure, then there is another folder which is actually pointing there. So here, if you check that one, then under core infrastructure infra, and we have biceps. That's the file actually that is referring. Similar, if we go to down below that for Azure Web Deployment at 4, here is package for Linux. This refers to the web deploy zip file artifacts created out of the CI pipeline. So now here you can click option is there, you can save or you can save and run. So select save and run, then select save and run again. And here we see that its permissions and it's on waiting stage. So select this view permit and then click permit again. So deployment is queued now and it is not started yet. So it started executing. So let's come back when this build completed. Deployment has completed successfully. And let's go back to pipeline and rename this pipeline. Now let's see the web app that has been created with this build. So let's go to the portal, Azure portal, then select the resource group. And then here you say, let me zoom it. That app service, select that app service and click on browse. So you can see that web app is running as expected and showing several products. Next section of lab, we are going to create Azure App Configuration service. So let's go back to portal and search for app configuration. Select that app configuration and then click that create button. Select the resource group that we have selected, we have used for the app service deployment service last time. And location that we use the same location before. So that is Australia East. And here in the resource name section, uh, give a resource name, and pricing tier, select the standard, all others default, and then select next, access settings. And here authentication type, here enable access keys, select that options. And authentication type is there to local and pass through. In this case, we are going to select it, the pass through one, the recommended one. And then click on, we are just taking all other defaults on, so we just select review plus create. And when validation pass, select that create button. And now let's wait resource deployment to complete. Deployment completed. Let's go to resource. So here we can see the app configurations. We are going to set up features flags in app configuration. So for that, under on your left side, under operation, select that feature manager and then click create. So here you see the different messages like enable feature flag, toggle features on and off, name, let me check that manual. So the first thing is what we'll be using your feature flag for. Different options is available here. In my case, that is switch. Then under basic, enable feature plug, toggle to enable. Then give a name, that is sales weekend. Then here is the key name. It has got that sales weekend. That part here gets filled automatically. Then label, make that empty, and description. At that application configuration data reader, and what it does, you can see that one, and it's a built-in role. And to get the details, you can click on view, get more in details about this role, and then next select members, and you can see select to assigned, and also see that user group or service principal. There is also managed identity. So select that managed identity and then select members. And here select manage identities. Under manage identities, select that app service which we created, app configuration. Let me go back here. So app configuration app CS 941. Select the subscription. Just getting one subscription here. Some results might be hidden due to your payback condition. Let me check that role I have selected. App configuration data reader. That is correct. Then under members, this role, I'm going to managed identity, and then I have select members. App configuration, and this is my app, and then yeah, this one, and then select. Then click on review plus assign, and then again review plus assign. So edit role assignment. I did that one. Click role assignments and then search for the assignment we have done for app configuration. And we can see that app configuration data reader role. We can see that on here. Now, next task will add app configuration environment variables. So we'll define several app service environment variables to connect to Azure App Configurations. So go back to App Service Portal, App Configuration App Service Portal, and under Settings, go back home, select that app service, and then under Settings, you see that environment variables, select that one. And you can see that few variables are already there. You can show the value here also. So don't make any changes. We are going to create a new variable. So select add. So first variables we are going to create, if a name is app config endpoint, and give a value here. Let me copy that one. So first one, now add another value. User app config, and value is true. So here you can see that value here. To hide that one, then click on apply, then apply again, then click on confirm, save the changes. So after that, let's test feature flag changes. So for that, we go to web application. Let's see what has been changed here. So after that, when you're going there, we can see that the weekend sale, that flag is here, that on sale this weekend. So now let's go back to the app configuration in the Azure portal. And here, featured manager, and the sales weekend. Let's disable this one now and updated. So it's already updated that field there. There is no apply option. I think that's it here. If we go back to that website, refresh this page, it may take little time to pop up or updated one. Can banner appears or they disappears based on the flag state that we set that up. Now we are going to set up dynamic configuration parameters using Configuration Explorer in App Configuration. So let's go back to web app homepage. In the option you can see all the brand and type and select that USB memory stick. So brand uh, here, select .NET, type is USB memory stick, and to search that one, select this arrow key, and you see there are no results that match with our search. So using app configuration, we'll change this message message um, without needing to make changes to the application code. So for that, let's go back to app configuration service. And here is under Operation Configuration Explorer. Then select Create and select the key values. Now pass the key values here, like name, and then pass the value. So sorry you could not find what you are looking for, but hey, why not checking for a different item? We had the t-shirts are sorry, and label is empty, content type leave empty, then click apply to confirm the creation. Now let's go back to web app and refresh the page. Now it may take little time. So let's search for again. If we check that all and select mark, we can see that products. And as per the lab, it is mentioned that if we select that brand is .NET and type is USB memory stick, it should give us the new message, but somehow that is not working. But you know that how to do that one. Um, just one more time, go to that app configuration service just to see that I have saved the message, but somehow it is not working. So under Configuration Explorer, you can see that key. I have set that up. And if I go just advanced edit, for example, so that you can see that the message, this is the key. So I'm thinking maybe this is not the right key name inside. So I have to find that one, but that's the way. Like I've got this the key value. Let me open the document again, bring this document this side. So Configuration Explorer, and this is the key. Let me copy paste again. And message I can type whatever I want, some particular ones. This is actually the key. And now the key is same. update key value, no key value updated, because those are all same value. Somehow this is not picking up. If I refresh, if I go to that web page, refresh this one, just to double checking. That variable name may be different. That for this is not working, but you know how to um, change the message. So that's all for this lab. It's always recommended practice to delete the resource group if you don't use that one. If you have any questions, please put that into comment sections. Otherwise, see you in the next lab.